One of the new defensive mechanics that has been added to Guilty Gear Strive is the Deflect shield. We're going to be going over all the things that you should know about this move, like what situations you probably should be looking to it, and some counter options that you have for it as well. Without further ado, let's start getting into things. So, Deflect Shield is a simple mechanic to use. You do quarter circle back and dust, and it activates. And once you have this little parry thing going on, you are able to deflect any single strike attack in the game. High, low, does not matter. You will beat it handedly. Unlike Wild Assault, if you hold down the dust button, it does not extend the duration or anything like that. There's a fixed timing to it, and this timing is universal across all characters in the game, so it behaves exactly the same. If you're a Dragon Ball FighterZ player like me, a really easy way to sort of get your head around this technique is that this is a reflect that costs resources and requires a bit more of an input to it. It pretty much has all the same properties as reflect. It pushes the opponent back. You have a little bit of recovery to it. You can chain a successful one into it. So let's go ahead and demonstrate here with Chip. So you can see there, I was able to do 2 of them back to back, so it is possible to, on success, cancel into another one. And because of that, you should be aware of something. I think I've seen this in someone's testing before. So let's make them normal block. Let's make them wall break, throw, clash, recovery. I'm trying to see if they've added... Oh, I know where it would be. It's going to be under counterattack, after block, deflect shield, right? So we're going to make Chip do that. You can see here, if you do testing, because the deflect shield counts as a block, he is going to cancel into another one. So be careful when you're testing this one out. You really should just be manually testing this yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be thinking that, you know, like, oh, wow, it's pretty easy to punish this, actually. Like, this mechanic looks terrible. Well, you're punishing another deflect that's coming out. So, you really shouldn't be doing deflect into deflect shield unless there's, like, a very specific block string that's somehow able to deal with both of it. But burning all of your burst gauge for that seems a little weird to me. So, just plan on using this one once within a block string. So, just be aware of that cancel property and be aware of that as you're testing against deflect. So, there's also another interesting property of this move where it actually is able to deflect anything, including projectiles. And as you can see, when you do reflect a projectile, it does also push the opponent back there. So, little different. Usually, like, you see a mechanic like this and a projectile might, like, be immune to it, keeps the opponent close. But this just pushes back the opponent no matter what it works against. So, it's pretty interesting in that regard. Once you do use it, the whole idea of it is to basically create a whiff punish situation. So Chip right there is trying to do a specific string, but I'm trying to remember, I think just this recording is the one. So the idea with it is your opponent gets their offense started, you push them back, and then you're able to create a situation where you whiff punish it, right? So you're going to have to know where in your opponent's strings you should be looking to deal with this option, because that will be something that will help you keep them off of you. Now, also, you have to think about this as a wake-up option as well, where an opponent might want to, let's say, like, do a knockdown, then come in with, like, a meaty safe jump. Or, like, at least a safe jump, right? You can certainly wake up with this option and relieve that pressure to it, right? So this is something that you can consider on that one. And this does create a bit of a mind game, right? Where it acts like a reversal because if the opponent goes for this read on you, right? As you can see, it lasts quite a long time. I'm actually surprised with how long it lasts. You are in counter hit state for quite a while, so you really want this to succeed because it seems like there's additional recovery to it when you whiff it, as opposed to when you are successful with it. You'll also notice here in this demonstration that you can be thrown out of this. So strike throw game becomes a little more... there's something a little more engaging with it, right? Because now there's an opportunity where an opponent might want to go for this option, right? Try to push you off of them. But, you know, if you time a throw at the right time, you could potentially defeat this option and punish this throw. So that is something to consider with your pressure now, right? Because now there's a bit more of a active mind game with another defensive mechanic. Throws, I think, might be a little more powerful, namely against players who like using the deflect shield mechanic. So a little bit of another point of interaction, which I think is a super cool and interesting thing. Now, of course, we've demonstrated like the idea of this, right? Push the opponent out, make them whiff something, go in and get that punish on them, right? We've seen the mind games of baiting and things like that, but there is another option that you can do to sort of deal with this mechanic, and that is going to be using a red Roman cancel to maintain your offense. I believe this is the recording. Nope, I do not remember my numbers anymore. Slot 1. Yep, slot 1. So I could go here, right? And as you can see, I deflect shield, and I'm not getting punished by the red Roman cancel. This is something that we thought we saw earlier in testing, where we saw red Roman get a punish off on this one, but I think it was just an error of testing. And so, if you see that the opponent has deflect shielded you, you can potentially react to this with a red Roman cancel and stay and get the offense. You don't get punished as the person using the deflect shield. You're kind of just going, you're trading different resources for this one, but arguably like the attacker is just able to maintain their offense. So there's this very weird sort of way to spend the resources. But in a way, though, it's nice that you can force the opponent to spend their resource just to maintain the offense as opposed to setting up a mix-up. So that's something that you should be considering as well. The other thing to be on the lookout for is the interactions this has with Wild Assault. As you can see, if you do a Wild Assault, you do get pushed back on that. But you can make this whiff as well. So it's not the end-all, be-all. And of course, you know, if I make Chip, like, charge this, he still gets pushed back. And it's a pretty bad situation, right? So you want to almost be cognizant of the fact when your opponent has burst, because if you try to Wild Assault for that offense and it whiffs, if it whiffs, you could potentially be in trouble. Whereas if you do it early enough, right? You can see that with the red version, at the very least, you're able to maintain that offense and get back into it. With the blue versions of it, so we have to quickly change the characters here. Let's pick a character that has a blue. We'll do one with white, and we're going to do one with blue, which I think Baiken was blue? Baiken was blue. Let's do Baiken and Potemkin, right? Because we have the 3 different versions of Wild Assault that we have to be considerate of. Blue, red, and white are those versions. They have a couple of different properties to them here, right? So, see here that Baiken has a blue one, and so we're going to make a Potemkin do Deflect Shield on block here. We'll do it once. As you can see, like, we still get the guard crush, but we are pushed back because of that Deflect Shield. But another interesting mind game, right, is if we charge it, we're able to actually get a timing where we punish this Deflect Shield. So super interesting mind game going on there. Right, so this is potentially a bait of sorts. Now if we do this with Potemkin, right, we're going to see probably a very similar outcome, right? We're going to make him do the quick version. Again, we're guard crushed, but we did push him back and we avoided him having a setup where it's a true strike throw mix for Potemkin here. You'll also note, though, that if we make him charge it, here it seems like, depending on the timing, again, a fully charged version could potentially punish a Deflect Shield, right? So, red version, you'll be able to do a special cancel, possibly close the gap again and maintain like a sticky offense. Blue, you're going to get a guard crush still, and so your opponent's not really going to be able to punish you. You sort of just traded bar gauge, and it's sort of like the same thing with the white assault to the blue version as well. So there seems to be a little mind game between, like, am I doing a fast wild assault, am I doing a slower one, and depending on that one, right? So you could potentially use wild assault as a built-in punish option by going for the fully charged version. But of course, if you do that, there's the possibility that depending on what version, you know, of Wild Assault that you have, we see Potemkin, remember, the white Wild Assault has iframes to it. So you can't really mash on that one, but if you don't have that version, you could possibly mash on these. But of course, you know, again, the mind game becomes a bit of like a frame trap or whatnot. So, but this is, again, focusing namely on Deflect Shield. One property about Deflect Shield as well. Let me switch characters one last time just to go back to a character that I could kind of pilot the pressure on a little bit better. Is that with the recovery of Deflect Shield, you do have to consider... right, that you're not going to really be able to sort of maintain like a strike throw offense here. You know, unless you're like purposely baiting it. Again, punish, so you can't really tech while you're in the middle of this animation. If you're successful with it, you know, then a completely different story. But if you're successful, then the opponent's usually too far away for a throw to even matter on it. So that's a bit of some of the interplay that's happening with the Deflect Shield mechanic in Guilty Gear Strive. If I missed anything, do let me know in the comments. Love to learn all kinds of things. And the next video I'm going to do real quick is going to be breaking down a bunch of general system mechanic changes that you should be aware of for Season 3.